First of all, what is XRP? XRP is a cryptocurrency that was issued by the software company called Ripple Labs, which is based in San Francisco. It was issued in order to dump it on naive retail investors, and that
XRP's total supply is 100 billion.
That's
not a billion.
Sounds better.
So it's 1,000 trillion market cap. So it's a quintillion.
It's not possible.
They think the market cap of XRP is going to be greater than all the wealth in the world.
It's XRP is preying on the financially illiterate.
Yeah, unit bias and the financially retarded, I will say.
Regarded. All right.
Which is based in San Francisco. It was issued in order to dump it on naive retail investors and thus fund their company operations, Ripple's company operations, in addition to obviously buying private jets and yachts for the executive team and this sort of thing. Ripple basically printed up its own money, so it's 100% premine, and has been using it for years as a funding source. You'll often hear that Ripple did not create XRP, but that they just got lucky and they were magically awarded 100 billion XRP tokens that just magically ended up at Ripple Labs. That's not only a highly improbable story, but also a lie that has been thoroughly debunked. I'll put a link in the description notes to this article by Preston Byrne for the last time Ripple Labs created XRP. Now, one of the reasons that Ripple chose to issue so many tokens, in other words, to have a supply of 100 billion XRP, is to take advantage of what's commonly known as unit bias. So Bitcoin, for example, has only 21 million coins, so the fiat price of each has gotten quite expensive. And it's important to remind people here, you don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin, you can buy a tiny fraction of a Bitcoin. But Bitcoin only has 21 million coins. It's very desired. It's the most important currency in the world today, so the fiat price of each one has gotten quite expensive. But because there are 5,000 times more XRP tokens than Bitcoin, it makes them look cheap, quote unquote cheap, to people who are financially unsophisticated, which is basically Ripple's targeted demographic.
So and I hesitate to say this because it is like a criticism of Satoshi, but I think this might be his greatest mistake in a way.
What's that?
Like making Bitcoin, let's say 21 million rather than 21 quadrillion or whatever, like to take advantage of unit bias. I guess other players would just further take advantage of unit bias. Like if it was 21 quadrillion coins or whatever the number, they would just add even more to try to take advantage of that unit bias and shitcoinery. But how many times have you heard NPCs or newbies say like, "Oh, Bitcoin's I'm priced out. I'm priced out. It's 100,000 a coin. I don't have 100,000. Therefore, I'm buying Shiba Inu shitcoin."
Yep.
Like, I have heard that thousands of times. Like Uber drivers and whatever. Just like that's almost the first thing you hear from many, many, many people. And so I don't know. Again, maybe what I'm even saying here wouldn't be correct, but some remedy for unit bias would have been extremely useful.
Well, if the supply cap was, let's say, 100x higher, could that have hurt the adoption rate? Because then the unit would have been so low in value for so much longer that it could have slowed the adoption down.
Maybe. I don't know.
And it's my understanding that there's something special about the numerology and the way that the whole network is designed.
Yeah.
Fractal Encrypt was giving me a tour of one of his mandalas. Mm-hmm. Epic. I can't remember any of it, but like every single part of it had meaning.
Yeah, it relates to 3, 6, and 9 a lot, I think, the numerology there. But I don't know enough about it either. But just I guess suffice it to say, unit bias is a very serious problem for people coming into this space.
Big time.
Because they instantly think, I can never buy Bitcoin because it's 100,000 a coin, or whatever the number was. Same thing was true at 10,000, right? People think you can only buy one coin at a time. So it's like, I need either 10,000 or 20,000 or 30,000 to buy these things. And then there's 80,000 of these other shit coins that are priced in the pennies. And so they're like, oh, well, let me just buy the penny stocks rather than the flagship.
Well, I think there's another element to it too, where if you were to buy Shiba Inu, for example, at, I don't know, 50 cents, and it goes up to $500, people are like, oh, I'm going to get rich. It's that YOLO mentality. Tom Lee's talking about, Ethereum being capable of doing 100x. He doesn't think that that's probable for Bitcoin. The whole thing is really ironic. Like XRP's value proposition, being that they're going to replace Swift. Central bankers are going to buy your coins from you or something. I think that's preposterous.
Yeah.
That's Bitcoin. It's like every single one of these cryptos or altcoins is like, this is something, if the world wants it, that could be written as a layer on top of Bitcoin. And XRP, every time I hear anybody talk about what XRP is going to do, I think that's exactly what Bitcoin is doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure he'll have more to say about what its value proposition is, that XRP is supposed to be this rapid settlement protocol. I'm going to let him speak about that, and then I'll have more to say about it, because I think that too is just a self-refuting value proposition.
Being aware of the concept of unit bias also leads holders, being unaware of the concept of unit bias also leads holders of XRP to have highly unrealistic price appreciation expectations. XRP can definitely hit 10,000. Obviously, it can't, given it has so many tokens. And as we'll see, given that it's centralized garbage, XRP is basically the complete antithesis of Bitcoin, whereas Bitcoin is highly decentralized, which basically means that no small group of people can change the rules. Bitcoin has no premine, no initial insider allocation. Satoshi did mine many, many coins at the beginning to secure the network, but these coins have never been moved or sold, and Satoshi was obviously not interested in private jets and yachts like the Ripple Labs.
And it was also open to the world to mine Bitcoin at the same time.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even a pre-mine. He was just the first adopter.
Yes.
So Bitcoin is 0% pre-mine, which supports his point that XRP is the antithesis of Bitcoin.
100%.
Executive team. So highly decentralized, no pre-mine, working to separate money from state. Bitcoin is basically freedom money, as everyone knows. And XRP is really the complete opposite of this. It's highly centralized. A small group can change the rules and can control the nodes, especially the important nodes that Ripple runs. These are really the definitive nodes that have the greatest say in the network. So XRP is highly centralized, 100% pre-mine with a huge initial insider allocation. And Ripple Labs is unfortunately also collaborating with governments to help to build a digital prison and enslave people with CBDCs. This is actually true. This is what they're doing, as we're going to see in a moment. CBDCs are one of the most evil things around. They're central bank digital currencies. It's a form of fiat where you have even less privacy and less control. So XRP and the people working on it are basically anti-freedom money people. Ripple Labs also has a long history of attacking Bitcoin with fake and false propaganda. And Ripple is able to do this because it has a very large marketing budget that it can use to bribe influencers and even once reputable charities like Greenpeace. And Ripple has this large marketing budget because it basically printed up its own private money, and there's still people dumb enough to accept it. So this was a movement or a campaign that happened a couple of years ago. Greenpeace working together with Ripple co-founder Larson to basically badmouth Bitcoin and to try to get people to change the code, to change it to proof of stake, which is just such a dumb idea on so many.
That's one of the reasons, one of the many reasons why I'm so off-put when people talk about crypto, because there are businesses or companies or individuals within the greater crypto market that are doing things that are bad for Bitcoin. Yeah. And that bothers me because I'm of the mindset that like, this is the biggest deal in human history. We need this right now so bad. Bitcoin is so important. It's literally the solution to like almost every problem we have going on in the world today.
Yeah, it is the solution to broken money, which is the meta problem of, so many things. I don't even know if we know how many things at this point, but it's been connected to things as disparate as opiate epidemic, suicide rates, low fertility, wealth disparity, political polarization, obesity, ecological devastation, endless warfare, propaganda, fake news, psyops. Like it's the money printer is implicated in basically every major problem that we know of in the world. And Bitcoin is the solution to the money printer, right? Money you cannot print. And so it's easy to sort of like squeeze that into a few words, but to actually unpack the implications and consequences is, well, something you can spend a lifetime, I think, wrestling with. And therefore, any individual or company that tries to what are they trying to do? They're trying to destroy the meta solution, basically, so that they can get rich quick. You know, they're trying to stop one of the most profound innovations, which is all hopeless, by the way. So like it's such a futile effort. It's like trying to stop gravity or, you know, I don't know, dry out the ocean or something. It's just such an absurd task to try to stop Bitcoin. Yet nonetheless, in their hubris and arrogance, being a money printer themselves, right? They printed 100 billion of these units out of thin air and then tricked people into buying them. It's almost indistinguishable from the central banking psyop, other than it isn't as long running yet, right? But if this thing did run a long time and for some reason Bitcoin weren't here to completely annihilate it or to prevent it from existing, then they'd probably become the warlords of the 21st and 22nd century, right? It's the same shit. They're just lying to people. They're creating this pyramid scheme and trying to dump their bags on people forever.
Yeah, and I would argue that if Bitcoin didn't exist, the government would shut something like this down.
Yeah,
this is illegal counterfeiting.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think that the reason that Gary Gensler hasn't gone after all of these cryptocurrencies, I mean, if he would have said a couple of years ago, hey, these are all unregistered securities, we're going to go after every single one of them. I don't care if it takes the government 100 years. What would happen? Everything would go into Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And then maybe you have a few idiots that are like, oh, we're going to take it over and it's going to rip. But it's, I think it's a psyop. I think that there's really important people who understand that the game theory is playing out. You can't change the protocol. How do you stop the Bitcoin price from going through the roof?
Yeah.
You let people get wrecked buying shit like this.
Yes, which is why XRP is for retards, and it is retarded.
And evil
it's
people.
causing retardation, actually, of Bitcoin adoption. Now, it's hard to say, right? You can't rerun these experiments. Would Bitcoin adoption be going on faster if there weren't all this market cap in XRP? Maybe, maybe not. But we can say that every retard that falls for the XRP psyop and puts their purchasing power in XRP rather than Bitcoin, well, that's non-accretive to Bitcoin. Although in the long run, when this thing blows up, as it inevitably will, it will trigger a stampede of people out of XRP into Bitcoin. So although it might retard Bitcoin adoption in the short run, it's likely to amplify it in the long run. This is one of those, you get into these weird scenario spaces where you realize like everything is good for Bitcoin.
I was just going to say that. And all roads lead to Bitcoin.
Yeah, you just can't avoid it.
So maybe this is a good thing.
Well, it's
what's good about this?
We've talked about
there's good in everything.
Shitcoins being like an inevitable consequence of Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is open source code and it needs to be open source for it to work properly, right? Well, with open source code comes infinite replicability. You can copy that code and do it and change and do whatever you want with it, right? So although Bitcoin itself, the social consensus around 21 million doesn't change, right? People operating in their self-interest create this game theoretic Schelling point, right? The immovable object, the unmoved mover, whatever you want to call it, the number zero, what number zero is to math, what God is to natural language, Bitcoin is to money. It's like this very serious absolute, basically, in a relative world. You also get all of these copycats, right? You get infinite imitators and all these little money cults that spring up around it. So is it good? Is it bad? It's like, well, in one sense, it's bad for the reasons we just covered. All the purchasing power that goes into those shit coins is not going into Bitcoin. Okay, so short run, that's bad for Bitcoin. Although eventually they blow up and then trigger stampedes into Bitcoin, so it doesn't really matter for Bitcoin in the long run. And that pain, those lessons that get learned over time, this is all accretive to Bitcoin and Bitcoin education, right? People get blown up in a crypto scam or whatever. They learn through pain, oh, that's why Bitcoin's important. I'm now a lifelong holder. So people either get minted sort of through study or through pain. And then you've also got, I forgot what I was going with the second part of this now.
Well, I'll jump in and say something. I mean, a lot of the crypto traders are taking profits and putting them in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So in some ways, all of these altcoins are channeling capital into Bitcoin. And it's the unfortunate people that are holding the stuff that get hurt.
Yeah. So this is where I think I got tangled in my brain, because I wanted to read this tweet, and I put this out in January 25. And I think this basically captures what it is. XRP is a psychological operation designed to trick retail investors into giving away their money by leveraging a bot army to exploit retail investor ignorance of centralization versus decentralization, the nature of money, and counterparty risk. Don't fall for the scam. So when you initially get people to buy your shitcoin, right? This is innovation theater. Bitcoin explodes onto the scene. It goes from $0 to $1,000 by 2014. It creates this whole cascade of copycats, right? XRP being one of them. XRP was one of the few to initially leverage unit bias. And so it issues 100 billion tokens instead of 21 million. It starts this pump and dump scheme, right? But it's using what it does, and what they do that's intelligent is they take the proceeds and they reinvest the profits of the scam into promoting the scam. So they're saying, oh, we've got all these partnerships with banks. Oh, we're the new SWIFT system. Oh, we're this. Oh, we're that. Then they're also using the proceeds to create bot armies on social media. So they are mimetically engineering or socially engineering people to think that there's actually a lot of interest and the capital is coming and this is the next Bitcoin and it's going to disrupt this and that, just by pretending like they're creating more signal online than there actually is through bots, and that pumps it harder. And then they dump again. They dump $500 million a quarter for 10 years.
Selling into that.
Exactly. Then they dump again, they reinvest the proceeds. So it's been this flywheel effect of pumping and dumping basically, but it's been reinvested intelligently to psychologically manipulate people. So it's quite literally, next to the US dollar, one of the biggest pump and dump schemes in the history of the human race. And it's all, the reason we say XRP is for retards is because, well, retard has a number of meanings, right? Retard can just mean to slow the growth of something. So as we just described, okay, purchasing power goes into XRP that would have gone into BTC. Well, you're actually retarding the growth of BTC in the short run. Okay, now in the long run, not so much, because this thing's going to collapse, it's going to teach people, and it's going to all roads lead to Bitcoin, as we've said. But it's also these PSYOP victims, right? They are actually retarded. You're not studying what this is. He just went through it, right? It's the antithesis of Bitcoin. It's centralized. He just went through the whole thing. So Bitcoin is something that you actually need to be multidisciplinary and studious of to understand, right? You need to know a little bit about economics and game theory and computer science and psychology and the history of money and the nature of money, all these things. XRP, it's just this like fear-based compliance mindset.
Well said.
Right. One of these guys, I had retweeted one of these guys the other day too, and he basically said the quiet part out loud. And
one of the things Samson Mao says that I really love is Bitcoin has natural buyers and altcoin has natural sellers.
Yeah. So this guy, this is one of the XRP army bots or retards, right? It's either a bot or a retard. These are the only people that support XRP. You're either retarded or you're a bot.
Or evil.
There's
a few evil ones.
I guess you could be at the top of the, yes, you can be, one of the generals of the XRP army. In that case, you're probably, not.
Have you ever seen a photo of Chris Larson?
No.
Dude, the look in his eyes, he's pale. There's a diabolical vibe in that guy.
Yeah, I believe it. So
and I think they pulled him and they put Brad Garlinghouse up front. They're like, hey, you know what? You go and scam everybody because this guy, he looks like the devil.
Yeah. So this guy, one of the XRP army cadets or whatever the fuck they are.
General.
XRP is the chosen one by the elites. We can't get rid of the current system. Might as well upgrade them and join them. Bitcoin is slow and expensive. The entire world of value will be tokenized, bro. So like, it's this mentality of, I am a slave. I can't do anything about the existing system. XRP is just going to upgrade the existing system. I've already missed Bitcoin because of unit bias, retardation. Therefore, let me get some of this $3 XRP over here that's going to be the same thing as Bitcoin. And so you're forfeiting your autonomy when you buy XRP.
Well,
and you're also selling your future generations into fucking indentured servitude, as he said earlier about the toilet cleaning. It's like,
yeah.
Come on.
You're also leaning into what we should all be fighting against.
Yes.
It's a great capitulation. It's just like mentally giving up. We're going to be enslaved. We're going to be in a digital prison. We'll hope I can make a couple bucks on the way.
Yes. And ultimately,
and I think that is a bitch. If you're thinking that way, you're a fucking bitch. I'll just say it.
You know, one thing.
Stand up and fight for the world you want to see.
Exactly.
Excuse the vulgarity, but it just grinds.
No, it's absolutely correct. And, you know, money is a very useful word for invoking a lot of useful conceptual metaphors. And this idea of taking something at face value, like XRP holders, which again are retards or bots, right? The bots don't hold it, but they're just amplifying it online, and then the retards hold it. You're just taking something at face value, right? They're just saying, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're this, we're that. And you're just saying, okay, and you bought it. Right? There's no one no one does that for Bitcoin, right? We all like go into Bitcoin. Everyone is so far down the rabbit hole, hundreds of hours of study, the most diverse and eclectic group of intellectuals you've ever seen in the world, all highly disagreeable, by the way, like the most fucking antagonistic ragtag group of people you've ever met, yet all coming to common agreement about one thing, and is that Bitcoin is money and everything else is shitcoin. And so you should really ask yourself, like, have enough love for your bloodline and future generations of your family to do a little homework and not take things at face value and sell your bloodline into indentured servitude by buying XRP. That's what makes you a retard in the technical sense.
Well, as Sailor said, you work, 40 to 60,000 hours of your life?
Chasing money.
Probably prudent to spend 100 hours learning about what money is.
Studying money, yes. And XRP ain't it, bro.
No. Well, so my wife has a friend, a year and a half, 2 years ago, she mentioned to her, of course, my wife's like evangelizing Bitcoin. And her friend says, oh yeah, Bitcoin took all my money. And my wife's like, what do you mean? And she like pulled out her Coinbase app and she's like, she has some Cardano, some XRP, some Solana, some SHIB. So people don't understand. They hear like, oh, this is something that you need to buy. Somebody might be a Bitcoin maxi. They're talking with their friends at dinner. They could be a watcher of the show. And somebody goes home and they're like, hey, let me get on to Brian Armstrong's nice convenient app here. And like, oh, Fartcoin's a top mover. I bought some Bitcoin today. Yeah.
And it's another one of these, there's a lot of murky areas, but you know, so Coinbase, which is an early Bitcoin company, all air quotes on all of this stuff. Well, they face the dilemma of, if we're going to be in the business of profit maximization, well, it turns out being a shitcoin casino is really profitable, right? There's a lot of stupid fucking people in the world to sell shitcoins to. And that's what they leaned into, right? They became a shitcoin casino and they pursued profit maximization. But at what point, and I had a guy here the other day who's like pseudo shitcoiner, and he's like, yeah, well, they're just, you know, being a fiduciary. I'm like, yeah, but at what point did you cross the line of ethicality and that you're selling people Fartcoin, right? You shared that email with me from Coinbase 2 weeks ago. It's like, oh, Fartcoin's a big mover this week. It's up 30. It's like,
makes my head want to explode.
Like, when are you a shareholder in that business and you get that email and you're just like, this is not right. Did I would just email all of our customer base and tell them Fartcoin is a big mover and they should buy it?
That's why Bitcoin
when do you look in the mirror?
Is like an ethics test. It really is.
Yeah, it's an IQ test. It's an ethics test. And yeah, I guess you could summarize and to say shit coining is just deceitful money. And it may take you a while to reach that conclusion, but it's pretty much the conclusion that everyone who does the work reaches. So, you know, don't trust, verify, but there's a lot of people that have been through this verification process and we're all disagreeable and yet we all agree on this. So,
yeah, I heard somebody say, and I like to think that there's not too many people that got wealthy shitcoining, but there are some people who made a ton of fiat and like with Ethereum, and there's some
Brian Armstrong is a billionaire from shitcoining.
Well, not as a holder though. He kind of falls into a category.
Well, I mean, when you build a shitcoin casino, I guess I'm calling that shitcoin.
Yeah, I would argue he doesn't have any altcoins on his balance sheet.
Oh, his personal?
Personal.
Yeah, probably not, but he's made an incredible amount of money by founding and scaling a shitcoin casino.
Total dick.
Right? The Brad Garlinghouse and these other Ripple guys, they've all made their money flat out selling shitcoins to people.
I would be shocked if Larson and Garlinghouse don't have Bitcoin.
Oh, they definitely do.
That's and you know, another thing too is there's no XRP. I mean, maybe there are XRP maximalists.
No.
Like everybody in the altcoin space,
They're bots.
they all have Bitcoin,
Yeah.
and then this diversified portfolio of all this crap. The fact that there is this enormous growing movement of Bitcoin maximalists, people who hold nothing but Bitcoin, that is a big indicator in itself. I don't know. I can't think of anybody who's like, yeah, I'm an Ethereum maxi. I sunk 100% of my net worth into Ethereum.
Yeah. I mean, there's, again, that word decentralization. It's the operative word. It's like, which one have all of the participants in the network or the participants in the game, have they chosen for themselves? And that's only true of Bitcoin. Everything else is some small group of people created the game and then sold it to people. And then they control the game. They sell the supply. They pre-mine. They just extract from later adopters of the game. Right? It's the same thing central banking does, right? They impose use of the dollar network on the world, right? Via the petrodollar standard or whatever it may be. And then they print money, which is effectively breaking the rules of the game to extract from those players. It's the same thing. Shitcoining is digital fiat, basically, without the guns yet. But maybe one day these two worlds will come together.
I was just thinking that.